Hey, what's going on, my friends? It's Dave Sharpe. Welcome to Wake Up Legendary. We have an exciting and interesting and unique guest this morning who is in a super unique niche. And I couldn't be more excited to welcome Lloyd, the painting coach, to the show. What's up, brother?
Hi, Dave. Yeah, thanks for having me. Good morning to everyone, and afternoon or evening, wherever you are in the world watching this.
Well, where are you in the world?
I'm in South Wales, in the UK. It's very dank and very dreary, so something to brighten up the afternoon. Yeah, let's excited to be here. Excited to get
Very
sharing.
cool, man. And so thanks for taking some time out of your late afternoon to be with us. Of course, it's only 10 a.m. over here on the East Coast of the U.S. So let's jump right in, my man. As you know, we teach kind of the core 4 ways to sell information online here. Courses, coaching, events, or affiliate marketing. You can sell somebody's course, coach, or coaching program or event. So how did you get into the painting coaching niche? Would you take us back and tell us a little bit of how you got started in that niche? Were you a painter before you got started?
Yeah, sure. So I've been involved in what we'll call the hobby for about 15 years properly, and by properly I mean actively partaking. And I kind of been involved a little bit before that. And now I don't know. I'm at the age in my life where when I move, I make involuntary noises. So that's a long time. I've been involved in the hobby, and essentially to kind of put a bit of context around what I teach. So I teach people
Yeah.
how to paint small plastic toy soldiers, essentially.
Wow.
You may have heard, everyone's bound to hear of Dungeons and Dragons. They may have heard of Warhammer, and it's the Warhammer side of things where I focus. So I've been involved in that hobby a long time, and I've always wanted to, outside of that hobby, one of the kind of key things that drives me is I want to be able to help people. I want to be able to be recognized for helping people, and I want to be able to be successful financially through helping people.
Mhm.
So that's always driven what I've done in my career, and some of the career choices I've made. And this was one of those things that kind of fell into a natural kind of, well, actually, it meets everything. So I wanted to start a YouTube channel for years and years and years. And I actually did, probably about 10 years ago, did one video. It was okay. It was horrendously edited because I was literally just completely self-taught with everything I do.
Yeah. By okay, I knew you mean horrendous on that first one.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not my finest moment, but if you don't try, then you'll never have, will you? So it was an important step for me in realizing actually I quite enjoyed the process. And that's one of the things I'll probably talk about later on. Is it's so important that you enjoy the process, because if you don't enjoy the process, then it could be really painful. And then about 3.5 years, I kind of just interesting. One of my really good friends now, I had signed up as an affiliate marketer for a company that sold the Warhammer product, and I didn't have an audience, I didn't have a base, I had nothing, so I wasn't actually contributing to that organization's sales. And the guy who was in charge of the affiliate marketing sales, he sent an email blast out to everyone who basically registered as an affiliate, and I got it. And he was like, "What help do you need? What support do you need?" And I thought, "Oh, I might be able to get some free models out of this now, some free stuff that I can paint."
Mm.
And then he came back and said, "Yeah, no problem. I'll sell you some stuff." So all of a sudden, I was in a bit of a quandary, kind of scorched earth myself. So, well, I've got to start making some videos then. And he went from there 3.5 years ago. So I've had the channel
Wow.
that long.
So 3.5 years ago. So just so we all get an idea of time, is you've built this hobby business
Mm,
because you still have your hobby, and
yeah.
it's kind of important to separate the two. I mean, I'm not saying they don't cross over, but it's been since you started the business side of things, creating content around it. It's been about 3.5 years, you say.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's the YouTube side of things. So I've been doing that for the sort of 3.5 years. And then TikTok's a fairly new thing that's come out as well. And I've probably had a TikTok account for about 6 months. And I found a way where I can create content that each platform has a different user, different type of user. So it's how you repurpose some of that content. So you're creating fresh type content, but you're not actually doubling the amount of work you do. So I've had that for about 6 months, and that's probably a whistle stop, I guess, of where I'm at and where the business is.
Yeah. Well, this is great because one of the challenges are, and I think any new person has when they're trying to jump into this new digital economy, doing something bigger than, driving an Uber or something. They want to have a side hustle because they know that in this day and age, if you don't have a side hustle, it's hard to get ahead or it's hard to save. But niche ideas are a challenge when people come in and start looking at real online business models. And the reason why we don't teach personally here at Legendary various e-commerce tactics and stuff is just because those can be somewhat difficult, especially through what we just went through if you need to ship things around the world. So we've all kind of become content creators, and whether you're just profiting from the content itself, are you monetized on YouTube, and are you earning income from just having your videos on YouTube alone?
Yeah.
So you've monetized your channel, and that's one way. That's one way to earn money on social media, if you will. The other way is, of course, then combining some sort of a business model on the back end of that content creation. And so you had mentioned some sort of a signing up as an affiliate because you've got a weird niche, you've got a unique niche, and you've got an awesome niche, a niche that clearly has some interest. So how did you transition? Because this was, this was something that I guess you started. Can you talk a little bit about when you started introducing the affiliate model into the whole business and started kind of understanding how you could monetize this content? Was that an afterthought, brother, or was that something you planned on doing the whole time?
No, it's something I planned on doing the whole time, and I introduced it from day one. So the links are in my first ever video that I put live. Okay. In terms of how that's presented, at the end of every video, thanks for watching. If you want to support the channel, if you like my content, check out my affiliate links. Simple as that at the end of every single video, and they're in every single video description. So it just generates. And the great thing about YouTube, and depending on the kind of content you make, which again we'll probably get into a bit, if you make evergreen content, which is what I do, so every video I put up, it's an evergreen video. It will be relevant today. It'll be relevant in 5 years, unless somebody goes around and changes the name of all the paints. In which case, well, I'll just recreate the best content because I know what's successful from the past. Those links will always be there. They'll always be rotating around. There's always people watching videos I made 3.5 years ago. The first video I ever made is one of the best videos I ever did in terms of the click-through rate. So it's clearly a popular topic. So affiliate marketing was from the get-go. We'll talk a little bit about monetization of content. There is a barrier to that on YouTube, is you have to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. So that took me a few months to achieve both of those metrics.
So TikTok, by the way, side note, didn't come up with 1,000 subscribers kind of on their own, just so everybody, because TikTok's been, brother, we've got a community of tens of thousands of people who are loving TikTok because TikTok is giving people for the very first time, guys and gals like you and me, dude, just regular people who have no an ability to get on, and with a 15-second video, they don't even have to talk in, get a taste of the affiliate marketing game. And it's addictive because it's like, holy crap, like I no longer ever want to trade time for money again. This is all I want to do, and I think a lot of the older generations get frustrated at younger people, but it's like, if you had that opportunity, you'd do the same thing.
Yeah, 100%.
When you were a young buck, you would have done the same thing, So, but I continue telling us about how. So that you answered the question pretty simply. You just kind of give a call to action, like, hey, you want to support the channel? I got my affiliate links down below in the description, and it's a very kind of like. What if they don't know what affiliate links are? Because this is a very kind of transparent call to action. This is just, hey, those are affiliate links down there. No disclosure needed because I'm telling you they're affiliate links. How do you get people to click on them if they're like, what's an affiliate link or whatever?
So very simply, if I take one example, so one of the stores I'm an affiliate of, they offer 20% off the products, and it basically says, click here to get up to 20% off your Warhammer products link. And underneath, I always put a little spiel saying, if you click this link, I get a small kickback, but it doesn't cost you anything additional. Just to cover myself really under the terms and conditions, the advertising laws and all that. But it also explains then what the right, okay, so I can support him. I'll buy this. I was going to buy it anyway. So actually, if he gets 5%, it doesn't cost me anything. That's kind of cool. I'll go for that, because that might be I'm not going to say it's a cheaper way of supporting, because some of these products are quite expensive, especially to a layman looking at who's never seen it before. I think is absolutely crazy, but it provides value to somebody, which is why people are willing to pay for it. So
I get it. I have a watch collection, and it's the same. It's really interesting, because you've almost, in a way, you've said, hey, I love this with a passion. This makes my life happier, painting in this hobby, in just the whole community around it. Let me make some money to support this not a habit, but a hobby that you enjoy, that brings value to your life. And I do think that a lot of people like underestimate the value that a particular business can contribute to their happiness versus just some number in their bank account.
Yeah, 100%. And that's really how, when I won't go into figures and things like that, but certainly when it first starts out, it is literally earning enough money to support your hobby or support what I'm doing. So essentially, I'm hobbying for free.
Yeah.
It's only after that, then, as it builds up and gathers momentum and grows, that you start to generate, an income that can replace your corporate income, in my case, for example. So it's one of those things that is really exciting to see. And just to kind of go back on what you mentioned, or maybe some of the older generations, they don't get what this is, and it's just that people see content creators and think, oh, it's really easy to do that kind of thing. Yeah, in one sense, it's really easy to do it. But when you're talking about YouTube, you're talking about video production, editing, the hours that go into it, and for what somebody might see a 5-minute video, but that's taken me 48, 50, 60 hours to create that 5-minute video, so
well,
your
YouTube videos, I'm sure, are,
yeah,
because you're filming tiny little things. I mean, you've really evolved your skills, right? Did you have the video in the digital marketing skills before, or was this something that you've also evolved with the business?
Yeah, something I've evolved with it. And people can't believe when I tell them this, but I film all of my tutorials on a Samsung S20 smartphone. So there's no expensive technology used. That was just the easiest thing for me to learn with. And so that's what I go with. Good lighting, really important. But the skills is certainly something I had to learn. And it's interesting, really, because the process has changed in terms of how I edit things. The process how I paint things hasn't changed, but how I edit things has changed. And that's driven by trying to get better at being an editor, but also trying to think about, what does my audience want? So this is really important generally. What does my audience want to see in terms of content creation? But in YouTube, it's really important from the point of view of, well, if somebody clicks on my video, that's great, I get a view. But if they then click straight off it because it's not what they want to see, it's not very interesting, well, that's going to tell the YouTube algorithm that's probably not a very good video. So I won't give this video to that person, and I won't give it to people who are like that person, because they're not going to like it. So and what I found was I do quite long videos. So some of my early videos are half an hour, 40 minutes, which means you need a good attention span to sit there through them all. And what I found out was my watch time was good because people were watching it, but my actual retention, so how long people were watching for, was fairly low. So it was about 15 to 25%. So what I've tried to do is keep the level of detail in the content, but shorten it. And what I've found is that retention rate is now closer to 50%, which is kind of the sweet spot, really. I mean, don't get me wrong, everyone would love 100% retention rate, but
it's not possible.
It's not possible.
We track our video watch and engagement rates across paid customers on our Wistia videos. So we get those engagement stats from that back end, and it's interesting, man. I mean, people they have short attention spans. We have short attention spans. I'm talking like I'm not a human. You know what I mean? We have short attention spans. We click on shit and then we click away, and we got 50 screens open.
And you pick your phone up or something like that.
You pick your phone up. The dog barks. The kid screams, and you're off, and then you forget what you were even doing.
Yeah.
You're doing something that's I'm going to go out on a limb and say, first of all, congratulations. It's incredible what you've done with your hobby, but also with just this business. And it's creative, and it's a great example for us. We've brought in Lloyd today, everybody who's listening, so he can give us, a perspective of what it looks like for somebody who's already been out in this industry, been out in this business for some time, and came into it from another road besides coming in through Legendary, as just simply a guest on the show, a co-creator in this space. And it's really unique to be able to see somebody turn something that is quite frankly a cash and a time sucking hobby. I know, because I've got a few of them, although I love them. I love them. Fishing and watches, I love them, but they're time and money sucking hobbies. And you found a way to share the passion, but also monetize it. I just find it just so fascinating, and I'm shouting from the rooftops every morning here about this opportunity that we kind of have in front of us. So, how can you talk a little bit to people who are having a hard time seeing the opportunity for what it is? It kind of looks a little bit like a here today, gone tomorrow type of thing. And a great example of that would be like I was screaming, hey, kind of work from home, work online, digital nomad sort of lifestyle since 2011. But I was really just a scam artist until COVID to a lot of people, because they said, well, just get a real job, dude, and stop with all this BS,
Yeah.
And then during COVID, I became the most popular guy in the world because everybody was stuck at home. And so that was a great way to kind of show people that this thing was here to stay. What's been something along the way in your journey that's been like, this shit is real? Like, this is here to stay and I'm going to build on this.
That's a good question. I'm probably struggling to think of just one thing.
Or how
I
has it
suppose,
changed your life? Yeah, I mean, just
yeah,
describe
I
like
think,
how your life is different now that
yeah,
you've got it up and going. Not those first months, or because those always suck, but like now that you've persevered through a bit of it, how is your life different, drastically different, night and day, or even the quality of your life a little bit better? Just so these, folks can understand, not about, because we get so stuck in the mechanics of things, but it's like what this will do for you if you just put in the grind, a little bit of time to learn the skills and then get comfortable with a new tool. Man, it can you mentioned corporate job. Did you transition out of a corporate job?
I'm transitioning out of a corporate job.
You're transitioning out.
Yeah, so that's obviously that's the big carrot, and that's kind of one of the things I set out with. I said I want to do this full time. So what does it mean for that? So for me, it's an amount of money per month that I need to, be able to make to replicate that income. It's also that knowledge that actually, if I can do that working however many hours a week I'm working in the business part time, well, if I was doing it full time, I could probably make twice as much kind of thing. So it's having that, and that's a psychological thing.
Yeah.
When you talk about when things change, if that makes sense. Because
Say that again, because you broke up right there. Right when you
so
were
when
like,
that,
right when you were like, I was ready to roll off your tongue. You were just like, and I was like,
when that first Google paycheck hits your bank account, that's when you know it's real. Because until you hit the metrics you need to hit, you're basically doing it for free. You might be getting some affiliate sales through, but they won't be as anywhere near what they'll be in the future, because you're talking to a very small audience.
yeah,
But as soon as that starts to hit, and I'm just a bit geeky with some things, I track that income every month so I can see what my growth is year on year, month on month.
yeah.
So that excites me, because as long as things are going in the right direction, which, very grateful they are at the moment in terms of the percentage, 30, 40, 50% growth month on month. That's
Are you
really
still saying
exciting.
that?
Yeah. So that's one of those things that really helps drive. When it gets tough, that helps to drive things.
Yeah.
But also, for me, and another moment is the first time somebody posted on social media and tagged me in the post. So they followed the tutorial I did, and this is the result they got. And they were really happy with it, and they wanted to tell everyone about it. So for me, that's probably the biggest reward you get, is when people
Yeah.
take your content and are able to it tells me I'm doing a good job because they can follow what's on the screen and they can get a result that they're really happy with and they're really proud of.
Yeah, man, that's really, that really crosses over to different industries, dude. That's not just your niche, bro. That's
Yeah.
every single niche. And the beautiful thing is when you're in the information slash e-learning space, which is, even though you are in the, I don't want to misname, or what is the name? What would you consider your niche?
I'd probably call it the Warhammer niche.
Okay, the Warhammer niche. Now,
yeah.
whether it's the Warhammer niche or whether it is the affiliate marketing niche where we're teaching, there is there is there's so many similarities. There's so many similarities across each one, and you're going to get that positive feedback if you keep at it. Okay, if you keep at it and you put out good, valuable stuff, and you're in your look, I'm not a genius, dude. I'm a ninth grade dropout. I try to listen to people who are a lot richer than me, and I heard a guy named Warren Buffett say, "Delight the customer." And I just have taken that advice and ran with it. It's like, wow, that really, there's a lot to learn in that. I really, as a man, need to listen and let that sink in, because I got a big ego. And I don't like when people talk to me any type of way. It fires me up, right? Because I think, but that's not delighting the customer. That's delighting my ego. And so when we go out to look to delight the customer, we will get that positive feedback. It's inevitable. And particularly because it's knowledge that we're sharing, it is life-changing to people. They don't, if you put a new set of tires onto somebody's car, they're not going to run back and go, "These tires are life-changing. Oh my God, it changed my life." But when you give somebody a piece of information, it's different. It's got a different feel. It's got a different, it lasts longer. It's truly like what I would describe like a valuable or an heirloom or something. It's like somebody that somebody can take and even pass on. And so I have heard, let me say it like this: there's never been a niche that I've seen that hasn't had the possibility to have that type of feedback. And you're right, brother. You combine that with money, because if there's no money with that, it's tough. Let's be honest. But you combine that sort of customer feedback with income, man, there's not a job out there that I believe would be more fulfilling, besides potentially medically or in some sort of a life-saving situation, saving people's lives or teaching children. Well, I shouldn't say that. Let me say this. It's freaking fulfilling, man. It's way more fulfilling than I ever thought possible. And you're in the Warhammer niche and you're having the same experience. I find that incredible.
Yeah, and you mentioned the V word, valuable and value, and it's about driving that value, and everything that I put out has to have value in it. So on the surface, I might be talking about use this color, use this technique, but actually what I'm also then explaining in more depth is why you've used that, or what will happen when the paint dries. And somebody mentioned this to me last night. They said one of the things I first learned off you was when you put paint on a model, it might look really bright, but actually as it dries, that brightness goes. So it actually looks okay. And it's that feedback that's really interesting and really, really, really good to get. But everything I do is all based around value and our value proposition. And that, I think, is probably why the channel has been fairly successful. It's why Instagram and TikTok have been really successful, because it's about that value. And one of the things I thought, and I guess this may go out to some of your listeners as well, is if they're not sure about what content can I make, how can I make content. Now I've got a list of the content that I can make. It would literally run for miles, but I haven't got the time to create that content all at once.
Right.
So which helps, because it means you've got years worth of content stored up.
Yeah.
But it's about, and you've probably
got guests lined up for your show for years, right? For your job, you know what I mean? It's like an unlimited amount of things you can paint there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What are they called again?
Warhammer. So
what a badass you are! I mean, what a unique niche. I mean, I find this so fascinating. It continue.
Yeah. So Yeah, it is really really interesting, and I think it's probably historically been seen as a very geeky hobby, probably more niche than it actually is these days. And I know the company, but there's a big drive to be more open and inclusive as well. So you're seeing that happen in terms of the type of people participate in the hobby and things like that. It's a very heavily male dominated hobby. Which I know that they're trying to push it out so that females can get involved as well, and that's working, which is great because it's something that everyone can share, and it doubles the potential customer base as well, which is really good. But coming back to that value point, it's really really important. So, and you mentioned time sucking hobbies. It is a time sucking hobby. But if I can go on YouTube and find something that tells me how to do something and tells me how to do it in 5 minutes, rather
Right.
than me trying to potter around and find something and taking 20 minutes, making a mistake, and trying again, that's where I come in. And that's where my
Big value.
content helps.
Big value. Well,
Mhm.
nowadays, I'm going to get up my crystal ball here for a second. Imagine magical music playing and, like a cauldron behind me or something, like I'm some sort of a witch doctor here. But I'm going to get out my crystal ball and look into the future. And what I think is that we are going to continue to move towards a place to where education is democratized. Okay. Not to where everybody can get access to similar information. And we're already there. People just don't know it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
We're kind of already there, but there's still this allure. Big time universities, or do you guys call them uni?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, big time universities, college, higher education around the world. Man, they got some big bank accounts, big endowments, big. I mean, these education companies are some of the wealthiest in terms of balance sheets, along with insurance companies and banks in the world, right? And I think they're probably not as concerned as I'd like them to be, but there's a shift that's happening in the marketplace where people are it started with they want to take their classes at home, and now it's moving towards there is no way I'm spending 4 years
Mhm.
screwing around with where I'm not really sure what I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to go to the internet, man. I'm going to go to TikTok. I'm going to go to TikTok and I'm going to find somebody. And I don't even know that this is going to happen. This is just where everybody goes anyways. And they find somebody who's talking something to them right here, right now, that they can access right in that moment, and it's free. And there's no way that there's no power that exists that can stop that.
No.
Stop that sort of sharing of information and sharing of the development of both content creation and also like e-learning. Now we're getting to the point to where these platforms are beginning to fight over our content. You saw it on a large scale with Joe Rogan, right?
Mhm.
Spotify came to Joe and said, "Hey, take all your stuff off of YouTube. We'll pay you $100 million. Come over to Spotify." Guess what? Joe wrote, disappeared. Boom, like a genie in a well, a genie in a bottle, I guess, comes out, but like he went back in, just boom, right back over to Spotify. He's gone.
Mhm.
$100 million. Hold on a second. That got people paying attention. This guy's a podcaster. The hell? $100 million. That's like an athlete. That's a Tom Brady. That's a
Mhm.
big contract. But there's also guys like you and me who are extracting smaller amounts because the platforms are realizing, oh shit, I better pay these people,
Yeah.
or else they're going to go to a different platform. So now we're able to monetize our content. I think that's going to get greater. I think they're going to have to share more of their money. I think that's going to incentive. I mean, Google's got a balance sheet that's got $100 billion in the bank account or some ridiculous shit.
Yeah.
And all of us are out here creating all the content, struggling. They're going to start having to share more of that. And I believe not only the content industry, just people creating content on platforms is going to exponentially grow. And we're going to run into a place to where we're going to start having too much content, but never a shortage. And I believe that, that, you know, regardless of what education space does, I just believe that working from home, creating content, and selling information is may not wipe out university and college, but it's going to continue to make a massive dent in it. And that old traditional model of education is dying. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, for me personally, I've got a degree in politics, and I can't say I've ever used that in my professional life. But I had a great experience in university for for 4 years, which I'm still
You
paying
mean
for.
you mean you
Uh,
mean fun? The fun
Fun,
you
yeah,
had? Yeah,
yeah, fun, yeah,
right. Which is valuable. Which
yeah,
is valuable. And I mean, I know a lot of parents out there who would pay some money for a
mm,
4-year summer camp, but I mean 40,000, 50,000 is extreme.
yeah, yeah. No, I agree with that, and I think I'll be careful what I say now because my partner's watching because she's a teacher, but certainly she had the
I respect teachers, by the
same.
way. I have
But
to
we have
take a side though.
yeah, we have the same conversation though. It's like why are we teaching people to do things that they can just pull out their phone and find out? You know, because 50 years ago we didn't have that facility, so we taught people how to do it for themselves.
Yeah.
But we're still in a way teaching people skills that are relevant 30, 40 years ago. We're not teaching those skills that are going to be relevant in 5, 10, 15 years time, and that's going to have an impact on industry on the one
Yeah.
hand, which is kind of getting a little bit off topic, but coming back to
But
the content.
relevance of information is important,
Yeah,
and you know what I mean? And that's why I think for a lot, I mean, it's why we exist. It's just simply because, and by the way, my issue is not with like, you know, elementary and that's all. It's the higher
yeah,
learning game that's in the preying on the newly adult young children who turn 18, who it's sort of positioned to them as this is your only option, and
mm,
then they're left with a $50,000
yeah,
in
yeah,
student loan debt. And that, you know, in America right now, we've got a big issue with student loan debt and should we forgive it? And it's just, you know, who's arguing? It's the people. And who's sitting back in with $100 billion in their bank? It's the big universities.
yeah,
You know, there's no accountability for them to actually teach things that people are going to use and be successful with. So yeah,
yeah,
it's a controversial conversation, but relevance is important, and I think that's a big issue, and that's one of the things that we deliver in the
yeah,
real time internet spaces is that relevance. You know,
yeah. And I think that relevance can come back to value as well. And you talked about there would be a lot more content in the future. There will be a lot more content in the future. But if you think what TikTok was when it first started, it was silly dances, lip syncing, that kind
yeah,
of thing. There wasn't a huge amount of value in it. Whereas moving forward, we're starting to see that value add now. So, for example, I saw Excel shortcuts. Somebody showing you how to do shortcuts in Excel, and actually, I was like, well, that's going to be quite useful for work, so I'll follow that
sure,
page.
yeah,
So that's and in terms of what I put onto TikTok, it's all about what's the pain point, or it might be how to paint red. Fine. Here's a minute video about how you paint red. Great.
mm,
How do you paint? So do you know when we talk about content put out there, it's making it relevant, but actually it's actually solving some of those pain points your consumers, your followers, your customers might have, but it's solving it really quickly and in a short form content. And what's really interesting about the short form content space is YouTube trialed all this last year with short form content, and they just got serious about it. They're now putting big money into paying short content creators. They have put a new threshold, qualifying threshold in. So if you've got, I think it's like 10 million short views over a month, you qualify for monetization. So it's a direct challenge to TikTok to say, hey, you better start paying your guys better because we are going to be paying them much better straight off the bat. So that'll be an interesting development as well on how
yeah.
TikTok respond to what YouTube are doing in the short content space.
Great point. And just to reiterate that, the you know, you all may not realize this right now, but almost every single thing that happens on the internet has some sort of a financial agenda. which means that there's often, the reason why I say that is because there's often money to be got, even by you. A lot of people don't realize that there's a large percentage of things that are sold on Amazon just by third-party sellers, people like you and me. It's not all Amazon. Amazon doesn't buy and stock all this stuff. Amazon is essentially almost like an affiliate marketer in the sense that they play the middleman in many of their transactions, but they warehouse a lot of the product too. But YouTube specifically could not be YouTube without us. And so right now, as you just said, they're paying people on shorts, and that whatever million or 10 million views that you got to hit, that's going to come down. The prices are going to go up and the qualifications are going to go down. That's capitalism. That's why capitalism is good for you, is because those people are now going to be competing for your content, and they'll be paying more. The qualifications will be less to get the money. And if you don't like the terms, you can really focus on a different platform. And the choices, I almost think a lot of us who are getting started in e-learning and digital marketing, content creation, have too many choices. How do you avoid, or did you avoid when you got started, shiny object syndrome and, just getting pulled into a million different directions and never really getting started down your path of especially getting through that first month or 3 where you're getting basically tumbleweeds within your channel. There's no activity. How did you stay focused and not sort of veer off into something else?
I just looked around and looked around. So the reason I picked YouTube was because it's not only obviously the biggest video content site in the world, which is what I'm producing, but it's something like the second or third biggest search engine in the world as well. So, and people go there to find out how to do things. Well, I'm showing people how to do something, so I want to post my how to do content on the biggest how to do platform in the world. And that's when you're choosing where to put it. That's one of the things to really consider is going somewhere where your audience already is, because the audience is already there. And I know the audience was already there because there were other similar channels producing similar types of content, which I was watching, which I was subscribed to. So you know that the audience is there. So, well, let's go to that place, because that straight away makes it a little bit easier than trying to build something out of nothing.
Yeah.
Use the tools that are already out there. And
the existing examples.
Really. Sorry?
The existing examples.
Yeah, the existing examples. Yeah, that's it. And YouTube have done all the hard work for you. They've done all the technical back end. They've done all the upload. All you need to do is create a video to put on YouTube. I know that's probably simplifying it a little bit, but certainly the heavy tech stuff is done.
Yeah, well, I just had a as my father-in-law calls it, a deja vu. He's from New Jersey, but golly, man, wow. Talking about upload videos to YouTube, man. I was talking about this 10 years ago, dude. It's just I had wow, because it's sort of like having that regret of investing in the stock market or whatever, some sort of a thing 10 years ago, and you look at what you could have had. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing how strong this has been. This has been far from a fluke. Not only has this kind of digital business model and content creation become a legitimate source of income and probably one of the most desired jobs in the world, but the companies who host all our platform have all our content have also become the most powerful companies in the world.
Yeah.
And yet still some people and yet still as a society, it's hard for us to understand, and it's hard for us to really truly look at these business models as legitimate. They're certainly not really taught in college. What's your thoughts on that? I mean, especially having a wife or a partner as a teacher. What is your thoughts on kind of all that about digital marketing and content creation, and then what is, I guess for somebody who's new, who's listening, what could you share with them that would, in terms of your opinion about where this is going? Is this opportunity going away? Is this opportunity going to be regulated? Is there anything that they should be afraid of? Similar to, well, with your corporate job, a couple of things you should be afraid of is getting fired, getting fired. Wait, getting fired, right? Because then all your hard work's just gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would be one concern. Do you have any major concerns, or about this, or does what you've already seen as far as this being producing the results, is this I'm all in? I'm going all in on this, and I'm quitting my job, and I'm not looking back.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely all in, and it is a really interesting question from a point of view of I guess that has two types of answer. The first answer is from a practicality point of view, and do I think YouTube's going anywhere? No. Do I think YouTube will change the way it works in the future, and will certain types of video be less popular? Yeah, 100%. That's life. The psychological aspect of it is you got to have that self-belief when you're just toiling away, not doing anything and not getting anything coming in. You've got to have that resilience to sit down and edit a video when you're not feeling it, and when you don't necessarily want to do it, to push through that sometimes. So there's the two aspects to it. And I think YouTube will always be there for and it's the king of long form content. And there will always be a market for long form content, because, as you say, people are now going to YouTube to find out how to do something. If I want to learn how to change a tire, well, I know how to change a tire, but I would go to YouTube. How do I change a tire on my car? If I want to learn how to cook something, the first place I'm going to go is YouTube, and I will watch somebody cook something, and I will replicate that in the kitchen. And that's the way things are kind of moving. What I would say to folks who are thinking, oh, I'm going to get into content creation because I see these YouTubers making, millions of dollars or pounds every year, and they seem to just do a couple of videos a week, and I can do that. It's not like that. It's hard, it's tough, and they are the top 0.01% of YouTubers. So you have got a very slim chance of achieving that. What you need to do is think, what do I want to get from me and myself? How much do I need to earn from YouTube or affiliate marketing? What's a comfortable figure? Because when you've got something to aim for, you'll know when you've hit it. If you haven't got anything to aim for, how do you know you've got there? So it's really important to have those realistic conversations with yourself. And when you're just starting out, you have got the enthusiasm drug. And the enthusiasm drug is fantastic because it will push you and it'll get you started and it'll drive you on. But once that enthusiasm drug wears off, you will crash hard unless you've got something to back you up. And when I talk about what that backup is, it's mission, vision, and values. What's your mission? What are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to drive? What's your vision? How are you going to do this? And then what are your personal values? And what are you putting out into the world in terms of how you interact with your subscribers? So as an example, I've got 61,000 subscribers on YouTube. Every time somebody leaves a comment on one of my videos, I personally respond to that comment. Now, that could get very, very boring very quickly, but it's the personal touch amongst the sea of 61,000 people.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't mean 61,000 people comment on every video, because if they did, then that would be a huge algorithm boost, and all of a sudden people would be wondering what's going on. But it's maintaining that personal touch as the growth of the channel continues. So yeah, when you're just starting out, you need to know why you're doing it. You need to know what you're aiming for. Because the other thing is, when you've got that mission there, it makes it really easy to make decisions. And this is kind of one of the things I say when my background is I'm a corporate trainer. So I've got a little bit of a head start. So I cheated a little bit. But certainly is when you've got that mission and you know what you were trying to achieve and you've got to make a decision, you can ask yourself that question: does this move me closer to achieve my goals, or does it move me further away? And if it moves you closer to achieving your goals, you take that decision. If it doesn't, then you come up with a different idea.
Yeah. Can I go back to something that you said a few minutes ago, which was I came on the scene and looked at everybody, and there were examples, and I learned from them because I was already watching them when I first got started. How did you mentioned your mission, vision, and values, and I thought that's fantastic. We could make a whole episode out of that.
Yeah.
But what I want to ask you about is how, when you were looking at other people, did your mission, vision, and values, how did you keep that stronger than your insecurity of comparing yourself to other people? You know what I mean? Like when
Yeah.
you first got started, you were this little guy, man. You had 0 subscribers, not 60,000 subscribers.
Mhm.
So how was your mission, vision, and values? Like how was that practically real for you? Because that was clearly, obviously, where you were headed. You were looking at that. And there had to be some insecurity, because there always is. You are a human being. So what were some of those insecurities, and like how did you keep your like your mission and your vision like kind of bigger than those insecurities and that negative self-talk that had to have been happening?
Mm.
I mean, unless you're just, your mindset is stronger than, there had to be some negative self-talk in there and some comparisonitis, as I call
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
How did you deal with that?
I mean, I still get that today. So in terms of context of what that looks like within the niche, there are channels in the niche with 350, 400,000 subscribers. Everything in between that, to me, it's 60,000, and there's some channels with 1, 2, 10 subscribers. So there's a huge range. Some of those channels started before me. Some of them started after me and have flown past me in terms of their views, their content, stuff like that. That's when you start to get that, oh, well, why are they getting those views? Why are they getting this? Why are they getting it? And it's questioning yourself then, saying, what am I doing? But it's really, really important to understand what your race is and to run your race. The only person you're competing against is yourself. And that's one of the things I have to consistently remind myself of, is I'm running against myself. So what does that look like? Have I got more views this month than I got last month? Yes. Okay, good. Is my watch time better? Okay, good. Is the AdSense revenue better? No. Or why is that? Well, it's January and AdSense is low in January because everyone spent their budget in December for Christmas. Understanding these things and looking at it from that point of view. And it can be really difficult to take yourself away and make logical decisions and ask yourself logical questions when you're so invested in something, because we're human beings, we're driven by emotions. It's how we're programmed. So how do I stop being that emotional human and start being a logical human? And it's to take yourself away. It's a really easy tip for anyone listening, is if you need to ask yourself a question, ask yourself what happened, what's going on, not why did that happen, why is it going on? And the reason for that, and this works when you're talking to other humans, by the way, is when you say why, it sounds accusatory. So you elicit an emotional response either from yourself or someone else. When you say what, it elicits a logical response. So you can actually start thinking logically about things or get logical responses from people. And that's one of the key things that, and again, this comes from my background, I suppose, in knowing to do that. But it's really important to know what race you're running and know that it's only yourself you're competing against. Because if
that was a nugget, dude. That was a boulder. I mean, that was something that we're gonna borrow from your corporate training experience. That whole asking yourself or asking others what happened instead of why did that happen, in eliciting or engaging that logical part of the brain versus the emotional, which, quite frankly, when you engage that, why did this happen? Why me? Why? Yeah, it's such a big question, right? It's like, why are we here? I don't know. I mean, it's overwhelming to think about, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the what is simple. There's always a what. It's kind of like a math question, right? There's always an answer. And it can work when you're talking to yourself or others. Boulder, bro.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what I always teach. So if you're teaching managers, always get your manager to ask what, because you get, like I said, it's like a maths question. There's an answer. It's a logical response.
Yeah.
So when you get logical responses, you're able to have better conversations. When you have better conversations, you have better results.
And exactly what Kathy said. What's the lesson, and move on, right? It's like yeah, just like you're sitting here looking at your own stats and competing against yourself month after month, you're narrowing your focus
Yeah.
to not trying to look at everybody or everything or even understand everything, but just track your results, stay focused on yourself. And it's really helpful, man.
Yeah.
Anything else on that? I wanted to ask a couple of other questions.
Yeah, no, you go ahead and ask the other questions. And
So Diana kind of alluded to something that I want to ask, and I think we all struggle with it. And her question is, how did he keep focused and not change his vision after seeing other YouTube videos that had things he liked better than what he thought of? And I think this happens with all of us, right? Or at least I can remember it happening to me. It was like I would create a video on a topic, and then I would see either the example that I was modeling, or I would see another one. Because come on, folks, we're not coming up with original ideas. None of us have to be Albert Einstein and invent anything. Sometimes we have to invent some self-esteem, and we have to come up with some. But usually, the ideas, the information, it's usually there, and so sometimes we'll model something. Sometimes we'll just come up with something based on maybe an idea we had, and then we put it out onto the internet, and then we come across somebody else's, and we say, "Oh, they did it better." Now that happens again. Sometimes after we've already posted, or sometimes it happens before, and we just say that's our reason for not doing it because we say I could never do it better than so and so. Can you speak to how you deal with that, and how do you make sense of that? Because honestly, it sounds like it makes sense. Well, there's somebody who's already done it over here. They're more experienced. They're better. Why would I do it? But the internet's such a vast thing that I think sometimes we just don't understand the size and the audience size. And that's one of the things that I first think about. But how do you deal with that? Because it's really a logical thing.
yeah,
And we're dealing with our brain that's a computer in a sense that's figuring out shit and trying to keep us safe.
yeah. That's a great line, and I tell people that all the time. Your brain's only job is to keep you safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am not the world's best content creator, and I have accepted that. And I never will be the world's best content creator, and I've accepted that. And the reason I say that is because it's important. I've accepted that, so I know that if somebody does something better than me, that's okay. What I can do is do it my way.
Yeah.
And my way will resonate with my followers and my subscribers and my customers. And it's about you, and it's about who you are. And I don't know, tell me if you're wrong, but if we're humans, and the way we communicated for hundreds of years through telling stories, and everyone's got a unique story. So how do you build your unique story into how you promote whatever it is you're talking about? Because somebody may have done exactly the same thing, and they may have bells and whistles and look sexy as hell, but there's no humanity behind it. And you just get lost in that new shiny thing versus like, well, what's the actual message here? So I think that's really important, is like, who am I? What's my story? And how can I make this unique to me? Because there will be people out there who resonate with it. And with that being said, it's really important, and I don't want this to come across as harsh, but don't use that as an excuse not to do something, especially if it's something you love and something you're passionate about, because your love and passion will come through when you create that content.
And no matter where you go, well said. And no matter where you go, there's going to be somebody that's already there, or somebody that's already done. I mean, you're not finding new land. You're not going to find a new place where there's no people already doing stuff on Earth. You might on Mars. You can get with Elon Musk. He wants to go to Mars, and you can go there and be the first to come up with something. But on planet Earth, every job you have, there's going to be somebody already there doing it who's better than you. No matter what business you start, there's going to be somebody already there who's better at it than you. And so sometimes it's also helpful to play the tape all the way through. This was a thing I learned in recovery, coming off of opiates, heroin back in 2008, was play the tape all the way through. Don't just think about this moment, which this moment might be like, oh, life is really stressful, I want to go get high, right? And it's like, well, play the tape all the way through. Where's that going to lead to when you run out of money and all that? That's an example of what playing the tape all the way through.
Yeah.
The same thing could be true in this business or this entrepreneurship. It's like, yeah, I could come up and say there's people already doing similar things as I'm doing, similar topics, and I might say, oh, well, I don't want to do that. There's already people who are doing it better. Well, the alternative is I'm going to go get a job and somebody's going to sit over and tell me how to do that job. So it's like pick your path and play the tape all the way through. And I really also like is it moving closer or is it moving further away? Because, if it's not moving you closer and it's moving you further away from your goal, then, you should say no to it, but that's a very difficult thing to do. That's it, because we manipulate ourselves like a son of a gun. And our brains are really, that's why I think entrepreneurship, I mentioned a few moments ago, hey, what do you think is out there? What Death Stars might exist out there for the internet marketing world? And the Death Stars, I think, are right here.
Yeah.
For each individual person, the biggest thing that's going to take you out, that's going to take me out, is right here. And I've done it so many times, but I see entrepreneurs doing it all the time where they just abandon projects. They just abandon businesses. They'll work for something for a little bit of time, learning it or getting started, but the pressure or the comparisonitis or the internal insecurities, the limiting beliefs that oftentimes we got from somebody else growing up, they're not even ours, and we're just not aware that they're still there. Those things come into play, and those are the things that stop us. It's not capability, it's not potential, it's not any of that. It's most of the stuff is a learned skill. Even talking in front of cameras, because dude, I used to suck. And then one day I just stopped caring. That was the shift. It's like, Dave, how did you become, actually somebody just messaged me that, how did you become comfortable talking in front of people? I just stopped focusing on myself. I just stopped being so obsessed about me. Right. And so, that mindset piece is the piece that nobody wants to hear about, but it is always the piece that takes us out. So what's your number one piece of mental mindset, advice, or what's a story that happened to where you realized how important the mindset game was in your business, that we could share with some of the people who just want the mechanics but don't want any of the dynamics, as I call them?
I think that's a whole other show in itself.
It is, but I'm hoping that you can give us a home run answer in the last moment of the show.
Yeah.
Hey, if I don't ask, I don't have a chance of getting it.
Yeah. I'll use my own example. My own example for me is that I know that I will be successful. How do I know I'll be successful? I haven't got any facts. I just know that I will be successful because I know I'm committed to this. And that commitment means that I will see it through and that I will still be doing this in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, in 15 years' time, when other people who are doing it now very successfully may not. They may well be, but that's that's my own mindset and that's my commitment that I've made to myself, to my family, to say, well, this is what I want to do and I'm going to do it. Does that mean I get days where it's tough? Yes, it does mean I get days when it's tough, because there are days when it's a fact of life. Something might happen. The dogs might not be barking, so recording becomes an absolute nightmare. Those kinds of things. So, little things like that can throw you off course. But it's having that guiding light of what's my mission, what am I trying to achieve, and then it's really easy to stick to it because you've always got that navigation point in the future that you're trying to point towards. And even if you get blown off course, it's always there, so you can always come back to it. Yeah. But if you haven't got that, it's very difficult to succeed, and it's very difficult to be consistent. It's very difficult to think, right, okay, well, today I'm going to do this, tomorrow I'm going to do that. So it's all about having that navigation point in the future that you may get blown off course, but you can always come back to.
Yeah, man. Well, I clearly your navigation point has been, let me guess, and you correct me if I'm wrong. that you want to be in the Warhammer niche and you want to be a content creator and a digital, you want to be somebody who's sharing valuable information, and who's helping people to have more fun and get more value from the hobby. And you want to turn that into a business that supports you and the hobby.
Yeah.
And so that's number one. And number two, sounds like you want to quit your job.
Yeah.
Have this be full time.
Yeah.
And is there anything else that's leading you, that's just so we have an idea of what your North Star is?
It's just that, really. So what I mentioned, mission, vision, and values, and my number one value, personal value, is freedom. It's the freedom to do what I want when I want. I think I can't remember who the quote's from, but it's success means getting up when you want, going to sleep when you want, and doing whatever you want in between. And that, for me, is what drives me. And my number one personal value is freedom. So to get that and to have that, this is the path I've chosen to take. And it's the path that I will continue to walk. And I always say to people, you never land on top of a mountain. You've got to climb a mountain. And some parts of that are really easy, and some parts of that are really, really tough. But either way, you've got to walk it to get to the top.
Yeah. Lloyd, hey, man, I mean, not only am I loving this, the people on here live are loving this, and I know everybody who hears the replay is going to love this. So, dude, thank you so much for your time and your business that you've created, that we now can have a reason to come together and connect, man. You know what I mean? That's the other kind of really cool thing, is that if you would have never done that and I would have never done my thing, we wouldn't have an opportunity to connect. Two guys on the opposite side of the world who maybe it sounds like you have a different background than I did. I don't have any corporate experience. And now we're here on an interview. I forget where the hell we even were, but we're on Facebook streaming inside of StreamYard, all this technology. Who cares? It's really, it can even be overwhelming to me sometimes. But what's important, what's never changed, the mechanics always change, but what's never changed is just the human connection and the way in which now it's much easier for me, okay, and for you, but for me to walk right out from my bed, or in my case, I drive right over from my primary house to my work office house, and I go like, I won't reveal today whether I have shorts on. You don't know whether I've taken a shower, but clearly haven't shaved. But you know what? This is where we're at. This is what we're doing in 2022, whether you like it or not, whether you like it or not. And so, so there's opportunity, and I love it that, we both, a few years ago, mine was over 10, yours was 3.5. Two different sides of the world said, hey, I want to get involved in this, and two even different niches, because I didn't start out, and I've never done a Warhammer painted one or collected one, but because of this digital kind of creation and digital marketing model that we're using, we get to talk and connect and share ideas. And so, it's not only money, it's not only freedom, but it's also connection with like-minded people. And I think that's a really undervalued benefit. It's not talked about a lot, but this industry has allowed me to shift my entire friend circle away from people that I didn't have a lot in common with and was wondering what was wrong with me. Why don't, these people want different things? And I was able to find my people, my tribe. And now I can get what I need in terms of my work and passion. And I have to, and then I get to go back, and I don't have to make my wife listen to all my marketing shit, or I don't have to, which she's more open to it now. At first she was like, what the hell are you doing 12 years ago? We got bills to pay, but this hobby's connected me with people around the world that I would have never dreamed of, man. And now I have friends and relationships that are lifelong bonds, people who, if they called, I'd be there in a heartbeat, and people who I know if I called them, they'd do the same. And so it was great to connect with you, brother. And thanks for doing what you did 3 and some years and some change to get started with this. And I know it's been fun, and it's becoming more profitable for you, but it's an inspiration for us in our community. So I appreciate your time.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me on. It's been fun.
Yeah, well, maybe you could come back in some time when you hit 100,000 subscribers or whatever, and share more lessons with us, share more value with us, and we'll continue to keep this replay live. So anybody who wants to go and follow you can do that as well.
Yeah, awesome.
All right, Lloyd. Thanks, brother. I appreciate your time, man.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
All right. Cheers. Thanks. All right, my friends, you can go and follow Lloyd at The Painting Coach. And whether you're going there to, follow along with his content, or whether you're going there to, look at somebody who's doing the affiliate marketing model in a unique context, in a very unique niche, it's really, really cool. And we're really, really grateful that he was willing to come on and do an interview with us, man, because one thing that I noticed with his channels was he also, a lot of the content is, Lloyd is not showing his face, right? So that's one thing that you'll notice if you take a look at his content. And so a lot of times with content creators who don't show their face, they're more focused on the activity. You don't always get to hear their thoughts, so it's a real blessing and a pleasure to have somebody like him on, to where we can hear the backstory. All right, my friends, we'll be back tomorrow for another episode. If you have not gotten started with the challenge, for some reason you've fallen onto this show and you're like, how did I get here? Start with the 15-day challenge. You can go right to legendarymarketer.com. And you can just click on the get started right on the main page, and you can go through the challenge and, determine if this is something that might be right for you. And of course, we have some higher education courses if you're serious, and you can learn about those in the challenge. Again, thanks, Lloyd. Go and check him out at The Painting Coach on YouTube, TikTok, or Instagram. Give him a follow. Show him some love. Follow him and just support him. Show him love. Like his stuff. Because that is what we can all do for each other. Simply because that's how this world works, man. That's how we achieve that financial freedom that he was mentioning, was becoming more valuable and being valuable to other people. And so once again, thanks, Lloyd. And we will see you guys here back for another episode tomorrow. Get out of here. Be legendary. Peace.